When I lived on my own land, when I was indigenous and lived on my own land, we had no bills. We had no economy, meaning we had no type of money. We rely on money. We hunt and we share. We hunt and we share and we depend on God. We depend on nature, the resources of God. In fact, some of us didn't even know that we were naked. We didn't even know that we needed shoes until that enemy comes in who wants to steal, kill, and destroy, steal the resources of the land, kill us, destroy us. Everything was free for us. And now he comes in and make us depend on him. And we become slaves. And we were building our own homes. Now we have to buy our homes and we still don't own it because we don't pay the taxes. He can take it away from us. Under him, we own nothing. Does he come from God who comes to our land talking about shoes? We know nothing about no shoes. We were naked. Some of us were naked in our indigenous state. We were happy and we depend on God. But this person comes in who comes in to steal, kill, and destroy and make us depend on him. Does this person come from God? Is these the ways of God? Or his ways are the ways of the devil? You need to recognize this. And now we're depending on the devil. We're living in the shadows of death. Because when we was in our lands, we took care of one another. We didn't have an economic system. We hunt and we share and we didn't need anything else. We were happy. But now we're depending on the shadows of the death. And we committing adultery. Why are we committing adultery? Because we was married to God when we were in our original state. Now when you're depending on him to take care of you and depending on his things, you're committing adultery. Because you're no longer depending on God. You had everything free. Everything was free for you. But now you decided to depend on their system. Does their system come from God? Question, ask yourself. Look at everything that they have done. Does their system come from God? God says, do not worry about what you're going to eat and what you're going to wear. He's telling you everything. He's giving you everything. And he's telling you who the enemy is. Why do you live in the shadows of the death? Come away from the shadows of death and depend on God and not their system. So the devil says, I give you the world. He's trying to give you the world and you following the world because you want it, but you wasn't already in your natural state, indigenous. You wasn't paying for all that. You didn't have all these illnesses. You had free medicine from the land that you lived. You didn't have all these diabetes problems, all this craziness going on. You didn't have none of that. Go back to your original state. Do they represent God? The person who has taken you out your original state, do they represent God? They killed almost everybody on the planet. They killed everybody on the planet. And they got everybody on the planet depending on them. Everybody on the planet is suffering because of them. Everybody on the planet is struggling because of them and struggling to be like them, to live like them. And you owe them nothing. You have no debt. Your debt is to love your brothers and your sisters, to love everyone. That's the only debt that you owe. You owe them, you don't owe them no money. You owe them nothing but to love them. And if you have a problem with what I said, take it up with God. If you have a problem with what I said, take it up with God. My people owe you nothing but to love you. You took us out of our original state. We wasn't living like this. You took us out of our original state. We was not behaving like we was not behaving badly like this. You took us out of our original state and have us depending on you. We were depending on God, living in a land of our that God has given us and depending on him. And you took us out of our natural state. You did that. And you killed. And you destroyed. And you stole. You did that. And I'm telling my people, you owe them nothing. You owe them nothing.